Hi everybody, welcome to Witness My Minis. I'm Peter and today we get tipped off. So I asked my Discord as well as some pro painters, what is the best tip that you ever gotten since you started in the hobby? I got a great variety of answers and I gathered them all here in this video so that we can learn from each other. Some of them we will dive into and some just speak for themselves. So I got my sheet sheet here with all of the things that people said on the Discord, as well as some video messages later on from some other painters. So let's just take one at a time and go through them all. Okay, so first up, Banana Cannon. Can we just take a second to acknowledge what a great nick that is? So he writes that a lot of the best tip that he got had to do with painting skin, what tones and colors to go with for that. He writes, like having purple and bluish undertones for darker skins, following the fact that skin isn't orange or peach, they're quite olive, blue-orange tones around the shadows, and light along the pigmentation in the skin. Where it sits on the muscle and the bone will alter how much red or blue to place in. It's a great tip, Banana Cannon, and we can see this quite clearly when going through the temperatures of a human face. So these are the underlying tones that are on the face depending on the blood flow and of course how close the bone is to the skin. Next up we have a recording from Sean over at RFD Hobbies. Go for Sean.
Hey Pete, g'day everyone, Sean here from RFD Hobby. For me, the biggest step forward over the last couple of years would have been getting glasses. Now I wish I had got myself a magnifier or something like that previously. It can make a world of difference to your painting. It's like switching from standard to HD, basically. It was a huge step up for me. Yeah, it took me a while to realize that my eyes are actually a bit shit, and I got glasses. But like I said, whether you need glasses or not, getting a magnifying glass really does make painting just that bit easier for you, regardless of your skill level. So I highly recommend that. I hope this tip helps you. Take care everyone, all the best, and I'll see you soon.
I use these 60 things when painting, especially painting like faces and stuff. Next up we have a tip from Snack Lord Dennis himself. Basically his tip he got from Squidmark. So Emil told him in no short words, I just enjoy myself more if I don't expect my minis to be my best. And of course this is a great statement and it's a great thing to live by. Just have fun and don't expect every mini to be your best. And then you have a more relaxed time painting and I think you'll learn more in the end doing so. B Chromatic writes, best advice that I've ever gotten was to use the Munsell color scale. We have to check that shit out. What in the actual fuck? Damn man, way to beautiful mind your color theory. Destro Your Soul writes, the best way to paint white is not to use white, but instead use an off-white, like deck tan or something instead. And this is of course also true with painting with black, because if you paint a black armor, then where will you go in your shadows? From Destro Your Soul again, he had a tip from his wife. Aww. It's just paint. You can go over it, you can strip it, you'll never ruin a model permanently by just messing up the paint. Then we have a message from Juan El Miniaturista over at Instagram. He is the father of all OSL. Hit it, Juan.
Hello, this is Juan Sanz El Miniaturista. Pete has asked me to tell you some advices, especially if you are a beginner. Okay, I bring you two advices. The first one is about the color scheme. If you are starting to learn to paint in miniature, forget about to create an awesome color scheme, because generally speaking, when we start painting miniature, we don't have the color tools to create something special. So my advice is try to copy Games Workshop color schemes and maybe with the time add a little bit variations. Okay? And the second advice is, as soon as you can, you should get an airbrush, because it's going to be saving a lot of money, because if you buy spray cans, okay, maybe it looks cheaper, but the result is not the same Sometimes the spray can behavior is a little bit unpredictable and sometimes can ruin your miniature. So my first advice is get an airbrush as soon as possible, and you are going to save a ton of money, because even if it's the cheapest airbrush on the market, maybe is 25 euros, and a air compressor is, I don't know, 15 euros. Total spend, what is 70 euros? If you buy 4 spray cans, okay, that's it. And you are going to able to prime, you are going to able to make some lights and get used to this awesome tool. Okay, that's it. Bye bye, people.
Next up, we have a tip all the way from Norway. Mål deg mot deg selv. I reached out to Squidmore himself and asked him the same question. At first he was like, what's the context? I mean, the best thing would be to get into the housing market when you're young, right? Snail. And then he gave me the following answer. Give yourself hobby space that you always have available for yourself. If there's extra steps to doing your hobby, it is very unlikely that you'll give yourself the hobby time that you deserve because of all the extra steps of setting up and cleaning afterwards. But if there is always this one spot where your colors and brushes are readily available for you to sit down for 5 minutes, if that's what you got, you set yourself up for success. It can be the smallest of space in your home as long as there is one small dedicated spot. You're good. Cindy from Australia, Whiting Studios. She writes that the first thing that she does when trying out a new paint line is to get the SMIC colors, the primary colors, so that she can try them out and see what they're like if she likes the color range. Because she's in Australia also, this is a great tip when there aren't that many suppliers. Solid advice, Cindy. This is also a great way to practice your mixing. So next up, we have a hobby nerd couple over at our Discord that is named Gerald and Lisa, and they go by the same handle, Might Be Monsters. So first of all, we have a tip from Gerald. If your airbrush is splotting, then you can try to rinse your hose. If there is built up moisture in the hose, then you can just remove the airbrush, put your thumb on the connector and blow out the moisture. This solved about 90% of their airbrush issues. I would like to add that when I first picked up an airbrush, I was almost afraid of breaking it, so I almost didn't use it. But it's just another tool and there's nothing to be afraid of. As for Lisa from the same nerd couple, she writes that for her it was simple, it was to get sable hair brushes. They were an absolute game changer for her because they make the simple act of applying paint more enjoyable. After 15 years of painting without them, I never want to miss them again. I do want to add to this that sable hair brushes doesn't equal skill because, as you might know, both Sam Lens and Sam Bees, they stick to their synthetics and they do quite fine without them. Next up, we have a tip from Annie Crochet at our Discord. He'd say that to look at real things, real references, and try to mix what you see. This implies to don't rely on recipes. Instead, try to see what makes a different material unique under different lights in different circumstances. Next up, we have a tip from Gabby, artist at our Discord, and she writes to start with a strong atmospheric vision in mind. You can stop to work on it when the vision is achieved. You don't have to make the piece perfect. And this is so refreshing. So many times that I have had a vision in mind and just wanted to get it out. Everything doesn't have to be perfect blends. Everything doesn't have to be, top notch. We're not competing for golden demon here. We're having fun. So if you don't feel like scraping mold lines, if you don't feel like drilling barrels, don't. Paint with the vision in mind and do what you want to do. Have fun and make that vision come true. Thanks, Gabby. Awesome tip. Another tip from Gabby was hobby painting should make you happy. If there is something about the hobby that doesn't make you happy, find out what it is and eliminate it. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun. Next up, we have a tip from my favorite Canadian, Jordy Crafts. Hit it, Jordy!
Hey guys, Jordy Crafts here. Peter asked me to send along my #1 crafting tip, and I couldn't decide, so I have two. Sorry. My first tip is to try something new even when you feel like you don't know what you're doing. You can research all you want, but you will never truly learn or improve until you get your hands in there and make mistakes. And I speak from personal experience on this one. I have made a lot of mistakes. I know it's cliche, but remember that the master has failed more times than the novice has even tried. Obviously, this doesn't apply to unsafe tasks. If you're working with high voltage or something, do your research. But for most things in the hobby, you have room to experiment and make mistakes. So get in there. My second tip is to let yourself feel bad when you inevitably have a big crafting failure. It's tempting to try and put a positive spin on things or just force yourself to move forward anyway, but this doesn't really allow you to process your feelings and move forward. It makes you feel drained and kind of sucks the fun out of the hobby. So let yourself feel discouraged and downtrodden, question whether this is the hobby for you, and then in a day or two, you get your butt right back in there. Crafting and mini painting is an incredibly rewarding hobby, but that doesn't mean that every moment is going to be a joy. And that's okay. Struggle is a big part of what makes that accomplishment feel so good at the end of a project. I know these tips weren't as directly related to crafting as they could have been, but these two things have carried me through and allowed me to enjoy every hobby I've ever had. So that's all I have for you. Thanks for listening, and Jordy out.
Thank you, Jordy. So well put. Next up, we have a tip from the mods of all mods, the greatest of them all, John Sarail. So he writes that light was the huge difference for him. And he mentions a video from Not Just Mecha with Marco. This video from Marco was a real eye-opener for him. I will link it down in the description below. Understanding lumen, CRI, Kelvin, and how that affects colors and the way we see them is of course very important. My first aha experience with light was that I got a tip that you should take your mini and you should look at it under different lightings. Like take it away from your desk lamp and go into the bathroom, go into the kitchen and go outside, look at it. And my mind was blown. I mean, it looked so different from where I was sitting and painting it. So after that, I've seen to it that I have good lighting whilst painting. Next up, we have a message from Sumikito. Go Simon, go Simon, go! Go Simon, go Simon, go!
Hey Peter, so my advice would be to find a tutorial of one specific miniature and basically follow the tutorial. So for example, when I started to take painting miniatures seriously and I really wanted to improve, I bought Inkarn. And basically there is a full-length tutorial on Warhammer TV and I followed it. And once you see all the little steps to get there and have the finished miniature, you can maybe apply it to other miniatures. But this is really great because it teaches some foundation on which you can build. So if you are starting, you can do the same. Find a tutorial for one specific miniature and follow it. I hope that helps.
Thank you, Simon. And of course, Simon works speaks for itself, so we should all listen to him, right? The tutorial that he mentions is also down in the description below, so you can check it out for yourself. If you like what I'm doing here, please subscribe, like, comment, and hit the bell button so you are informed when I release my next video. Thanks to everyone that shared the tip this time, and as for the content creators, I will share their links down in the description below, so you can head over there and give them some love. So with that said, this was the tips this time, you guys. Have a great one. Bye!